Taurians, hello and welcome to this video about the horoscope for Taurus for the month of August. What is going to happen? But first of all, I just want to thank you guys who have sent me nice comments, who have ordered readings, etc., etc., because that's really nice for me too, and it's giving me a push to continue actually. But let's get started with your horoscope for the month of August for Taurus. What's going to happen? There's going to happen quite a lot for Taurians, and the little planets are involved here. I'll talk about that in a minute. So last month it was all about the Pluto-Uranus square that was stimulated by Mars. Now this month, August, is again Pluto-Uranus square that is going to be activated. And the planet that's going to trigger it is Venus. And I'll talk to you about it in a minute. And of course, Venus is your ruler. So that's why it's going to be quite significant for you Taurians. But what's happening during the month? Well, first of all, the month starts off with a nice trine between your ruler, Venus, and Neptune. That's around the beginning of the month, around the 9th of the month. That happens in your third house. Your Venus is in Cancer in the third house, so that could be all about friendship, because Neptune is in the 11th house of friendships, and it could be having a nice time with your siblings, or just in general with very short contacts, having a nice time and a lot of networking, because the third house and the 11th house, I associate that with networking. So that's a very nice time for you. And with still having Jupiter in your second house, you really quite feel confident. But what happens? Again, in the middle of the month, so last month it was also in the middle of the month that Pluto-Uranus square was triggered by Mars. Now in the middle of the month, around the 15th, there is something going on with your ruler Venus. And at the same time, there is something going on in your 6th house with Mars, which is for you, the other person. Mars is going to conjunct Saturn in your 6th house. Now, what is that all about? Well, it can mean that day-to-day life or routines are becoming a bit frustrated for you. Or maybe you're going to be fed up with your routines, and things are not going as they should. Or maybe it's your health. You want to do something to maybe you want to start a diet and it's not working out. So there's a frustrating energy going on. It's not that bad. And why is it not that bad? Because it happens on the star Spica. So in astrology there are a few fixed stars that are quite important, and Spica is one of them. That is around 23 degrees of Libra, and that Mars-Saturn conjunction just happens on Spica, which means that you'll be all right, you'll be fine. However frustrating it is, Spica always means you'll be fine. In the end, at the end, you'll be okay. So don't worry about that when you feel a little bit of frustration there. But at the same time, whilst that is going on with the 6th house, your ruler Venus in the 3rd is going to oppose Pluto and squaring up with Uranus. What does it mean? Well, your ruler is going to oppose Pluto. I made some videos about the Pluto-Uranus square, and you can watch the video about Venus and the Pluto-Uranus square, because there I explain very widely what that means. And of course, it's just a transit of a couple of days during the 15th, well, the 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, a couple of days that you will feel that. And especially when you've got planets around 8 degrees of cardinal signs like Aries, Libra, Cancer, or Capricorn. but we will all feel it. And it's a tension between Venus, the planet of love, the planet of what we love, and Pluto, the planet of transformation. So we will all experience some kind of transformation through love, actually. And for you, it's significant because Venus is your ruler, and it happens in the 3rd house and in the 9th house, and these are communication houses. So what could it mean? It could mean that communication clashes in some sort of way with different kind of people, or just with people that you love, or with people that you encounter on a day-to-day basis. And it's also clashing with Uranus in the 12th house, which means that the unconsciousness will arise. In other words, some things, because that happens, whatever it is for you, because this is a general horoscope, things are going to come into the surface and will become much clearer for you. Because after that has happened, there is a new moon, and which always means a new beginning. So very shortly after this clash between your ruler, clash, it sounds severe, doesn't it? But it isn't. It's just a tension between letting go of something. Pluto is also letting go of something, especially when it is in opposition, and especially when it is Venus. Venus are the things that we are attached to. So maybe we are attached too much to our thoughts, because your ruler Venus is in the 3rd house, the house of your thoughts and your communication. So maybe you have to let go of something. But whatever it is followed by, very shortly, by a new moon in Leo, and that is in your 4th house. So that is good, because whatever has happened, it will have a kind of a deep meaning for you, because the 4th house is not only our home and our family, it is our core. So this means that you will change at the core, and it will be a new beginning, a new start, and quite an ambitious start. Why? Because this new moon, really, the fixed stars are really involved this month, because the fixed star Regulus is involved, and that's also a very well-known fixed star in astrology. It's on I think at the end of Leo, and this new moon happens on the end of Leo, which means that the new beginning will not only be fresh, so that understanding that I talked about, that understanding, that deep understanding, that getting it at a very core level, is also going to be ambitious. So Regulus is really a fixed star, all about being ambitious and wanting to go forwards. So I think it's a very interesting end result with that new moon in there. What else? So after that, another thing that is going to happen, and actually it closes the month, it's at the end of the month, Mars, which is the ruler of your 7th house, so which is that other person, or people you work with one-to-one, or colleagues, is going to trine Neptune, which is good. So that means that other person, it rules, so Mars rules your 7th house, but it's not in the 7th house. Mars is now in Libra, and that is in your 6th house. So it could mean colleagues, it could mean colleagues too. So maybe a colleague has forced you to really to change the way you communicate, and at the end of the month that colleague is like easing down a little bit. It's like he or she stood up for himself, but rather frustratingly, and then they come into their own power, and everything is more in an understanding manner. Mars in a trine with Neptune is much about it, doing things for the collective, but it's also about how do you say that? It's about taking into consideration other people. And Mars is in Libra, so I think that person will understand you, and you will understand yourself. So it's a good story at the end of the month, but expect some, you know, some challenges around the middle of the month. So what else? Yes, now especially for those who have planets or an ascendant around 20 to 30 degrees of Taurus. Now I'm speaking specifically for these people. There's also something very interesting going on. There is a conjunction of two little planets and the North Node at the very end of the month. At the very end of the month, so the 31st of August, 30th to 31st of August, the North Node changes sign, and it changes from Sagittarius into Scorpio. And Scorpio is your 7th house. It's the house of the other person. And so it's at 29 degrees of Scorpio, because the North Nodes go backwards. So from 1st degree of Sagittarius into 29 degrees of Scorpio. And that North Node is going to conjunct two little planets, Juno and Eros. Now what does that mean? Juno is all about commitment. Eros is about our passion. So when you link those two together, commitment, passion, the North Node, which is the way to go, you know, our path, and that's all in a conjunction on that 7th house of yours when you are a Taurus ascendant, around 20 degrees until 30 degrees, or when you're having planets around there. This means that the other person, or if you're not living together with someone, well, let's start when you're living together with someone, then you're dealing with someone who really knows their own path. So that really means that you discover your path in an opposition, which is not always easy for you, but you get to know yourself way better through that other person, because they go their path, and it's almost like saying don't interfere too much with their path. And if you're doing that, and if you're allowing that other person in your life doing whatever he or she has to do, you will come to yourself and you will find your own path yourself. That's a bit the psychology after or underneath. And I think it fits very well with this Mars-Saturn in your 6th house. Mars is of course the other person. It could also mean that you are having difficulties with your other person's day-to-day routine. And maybe you want to change it, and maybe you want to make it better or something like that. I would suggest that you just let him or her do what he or she has to do, and then you'll be fine. And when you're single, it can just mean that you will, it won't be that easy for you to just be very clear about your path. But there is something going on. So again, especially for the Taurians, 20, 30 degrees. So there is something going on. So there could be someone, someone significant and important for you coming on your path and showing you the things that I just talked about. So quite interesting. So Taurians, have a good month for the month of August. I wish you all the best. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for watching my videos. I made a series. Actually, I'm doing the series of Moon in a certain sign and Venus in a certain sign. I also did Moon and Venus in Taurus. Check it out if you are interested. Wish you all the best and see you next month.